Hey guys, welcome back, or it's the first time here, welcome to my channel. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Definitely do not forget to hit that subscribe button down below if you do, and if you are already subscribed, definitely hit that bell button so that you can get notified every time I upload a video, because YouTube can sometimes be a little bit weird and sometimes my videos don't show up in your feed. So if you want to make sure that you're always notified, ring that bell. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about some luxury foundations that I believe are worth the splurge, as well as some luxury foundations that I think you should probably save your money on and that are not worth the splurge. Now, I do want to mention, just as a little disclaimer, foundation is obviously a very personal makeup item. What works for me may not necessarily work for you, just because we all have different skin types. Now, my specific skin type is dry, and I also do have sensitive skin. I can only really speak from my own experience, right? So please keep that in mind. Take my opinion with a grain of salt. These are just foundations that work really well for me and don't work really well for me. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this video. Definitely let me know what you thought in the comments. Let me know some of your favorite and some of your least favorite foundations. I love hearing your suggestions. So without further ado, let's get into the foundations. So with these types of videos, I always like to start off with a positive note. So let's first start off with some of my favorite luxury foundations. So starting off with foundation that I'm actually wearing on my face right now. This is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Cushion Stick Radiant Makeup. Now, I actually tried this foundation for the first time in Vancouver with Samantha Ravndal. She was actually using it. She was raving about it when I was with her, so I figured I would also try it out myself. As soon as I swiped the foundation across my cheek, I knew it was meant to be, and I knew we were meant to just find each other. Now, the first time that I wore this foundation, I remember David, my boyfriend, actually complimenting my skin and telling me that he really liked the way my skin looked. These were his exact words. He said that usually I can tell when you're wearing foundation, your skin looks really dry, but today you can't really tell that you're wearing foundation, your skin just looks really nice. When a guy who is not into makeup tells me that my skin is looking really nice with a particular foundation, I know it's a winner. It does give you a really nice medium coverage. I wouldn't say it's a full coverage foundation. I could definitely still see my freckles and maybe a little bit of like my natural skin texture through, but it does cover up everything that I actually want to be covered. It still has a really beautiful lightweight finish to it, so it doesn't feel heavy in the slightest. It has such a beautiful natural looking finish that's not too dewy, because although I do have dry skin, I never want to look oily, and this foundation is really just like that happy medium. My one con, actually the applicator. You're not gonna be able to see it now because I actually threw it out, but it comes with a sponge applicator initially, which I personally don't really like, because I don't really love the idea of spreading a sponge all over my face every single day. I feel like that's just a really good way to get breakouts. So instead, I just remove the sponge, and you basically just turn this to dispense foundation, and it sort of just comes out of this little spout, and I find that works fine. I sort of just like draw it onto my face, and it works great like that. So next I have an Armani foundation, and you are gonna notice that I do have actually two other Armani foundations that I'm gonna be talking about today, but I gotta say that Armani really does foundation so well. They all do very different things. So starting off first with the Maestro Glow, this is the Nourishing Fusion Makeup by Phase Elixir, and has an SPF of 30. So this foundation is actually maybe a little bit unique, dare I say. I don't really think I have anything very similar to this in my collection. This is probably one of the most glowy foundations that I have. If you have oily skin, I would probably honestly stay far away from this. It is a serum foundation, so obviously the texture of this is not thick in the slightest. Definitely has more of a light coverage, but also depending on how you apply it and how much you apply, you could definitely build it up to more of a medium coverage. Now, what I love so much about this product is that it looks like a second skin. When you apply this to your face, it doesn't even look like it's there. And I think that really all comes down to the texture. It does apply a little bit more on the oilier side, but once you actually start to blend it into the skin, it does dry down almost instantaneously, and it doesn't have like a super slick or oily texture as soon as it's completely blended into the skin. I also think that this product is really ideal for mature skin as well, because it is so lightweight in texture and so thin. It doesn't cling or look heavy, especially when applied on top of fine lines, and that subtle glow that it has just again makes your skin look so youthful. Because of the formula and the texture and everything about this foundation, it really just enhances the skin. It doesn't really cover it or mask it. So next I've got a stick foundation. You guys probably could have guessed this if you have been around on my channel for a while. You know how much I love the Hourglass Vanish foundation. I've spoken about this product on my channel so much, so I'm not going to go on and on about it, but just to break it down really simply, I love stick foundations in particular, especially this one, because I do find that it has a lot of versatility. You are able to get quite a variety of coverages is with this, you can apply just a very small amount and blend it out with a damp sponge and get a really beautiful, just light coverage. Or you could apply quite a lot of this product and blend it out with a brush and get a very, very full coverage. Even if you apply this very heavily, it doesn't look extremely heavy on the skin. The finish is definitely more of like a natural finish because it's not overly dewy at all, but it's definitely not matte as well. So it just sort of gives a little bit of like a healthy glow to your skin. I think one of the keys as to why this product is so great is the fact that a very little product goes a very long way. So you don't actually have to build this up so heavily and apply a ton of product to actually get a lot of coverage, which sort of gives you more of a natural look even when you want something a little bit more high coverage, because you could apply a lot less product. So that's basically all of my thoughts on the Vanish foundation. 100% think this stuff is worth the splurge. So when I'm getting ready to go out on the town, I don't do it very often, but when I do and I want my skin to just look really, really awesome, my go-to foundation is always the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. The Luminous Silk definitely has more of a medium to full coverage, which is really great, especially for events. But I do find that depending on the way that you apply it, you can actually get quite a light coverage with this for every day as well. Now, even though this foundation is called Luminous Silk, it is not overly dewy whatsoever. I do find it definitely has more of a natural finish. It's definitely not matte, but it's not crazy dewy like the Maestro Glow, for example. Now, not all foundations work well with beauty oils. Sometimes they separate or just sort of react a little bit strange, but for some reason, a beauty oil in the Luminous Silk just honestly makes it magical, and that is my favorite way to apply it, and it honestly just makes my skin look like nothing else. It really does give me that coverage, and it also gives it a boost of like luminosity, and those are all the reasons why I love the Luminous Silk. Now, the next foundation that I want to talk about is the Power Fabric from Armani, because I know a lot of you guys have been wanting to know my opinion on this, and I honestly have only tried it 2 times, so I definitely can't say that it's like my favorite foundation ever because I have not tried it out enough. But I did want to give you guys my first impressions on this. Now, this is definitely more of a matte foundation, especially compared to Luminous Silk. However, it's not like a super drying chalkboard matte. It definitely has a little bit of life to it still, which is something that I do really appreciate about this, because typically with my dry skin, I just cannot do matte foundations. It does not accentuate my dry patches at all. It doesn't make my skin look overly dry. This also has way more coverage than Luminous Silk, and I do find that you have to use a very, very small amount to get a very big effect, meaning you don't have to apply a ton of product to get a lot of coverage. I think the key to this product actually is to apply a very small amount and blend it out with a damp sponge. I would not recommend necessarily blending it out with a brush. I do find that it looks a little bit more dry when I use a brush. However, with a beauty blender, it gives that extra moisture that I feel like this foundation needs in order for it to look really pretty. Overall, I do quite like it for the few times that I have worn it. I don't see it really as like an everyday foundation for me. I see it more as like a foundation for events when I want more of a satin matte finish and I'm not really going for something super dewy. I could definitely see myself reaching for this. Something else that I wanted to mention, it definitely has that luxury foundation scent and it does not go away. It definitely lingers on the face a little bit. It's not super obnoxious, but it's definitely there. So I just wanted to put that out there in case you're super sensitive to scent. So the last of the luxury foundations that I think are worth the splurge is the Tom Ford Traceless foundation. I almost am upset by the fact that I love this so much because it's so expensive. So lately my skin has just been not so great. You probably can't really tell on camera just because of the lights that I use, but I have been getting a lot of texture, especially on my forehead, my chin, my cheeks. So I've been having very like crappy foundation days. Like every time I would apply a foundation, it just wouldn't look so great. And my skin was still just, you know, not under the best condition. But when I tried this foundation for the first time, I probably had one of the best like foundation skin days in the longest time. So remember my whole spiel about stick foundations and how I think that they're great because they're buildable and very versatile. The same thing goes with this because this is also a stick foundation. Now, if you apply this foundation heavily, you can get a very, very full coverage. But what I love so much about this is that you can also get a very beautiful, just like light, natural looking coverage, especially for the daytime. Like this has been my go-to everyday foundation since the first time that I used it because it just gives me that your skin but better look. It just enhances my my skin. It doesn't cover it, doesn't make me feel like I'm wearing a mask. It's also not heavy at all, which is a huge plus. Because I've been wearing this foundation more on an everyday basis, I've been wearing it for very long hours, like from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and I could very confidently say that this foundation just lasts so well throughout the day. I actually find that it almost looks better throughout the day. You know, when you first apply your foundation and it almost looks like it's just sitting on top of your skin and hasn't actually like settled in quite yet. Once this foundation almost becomes like one with your skin, it just looks even better and better throughout the day. It looks even more natural and more like luminous. I also do really like that I don't find that I have to set this with powder in order for it to last all day. I have not set it with powder yet, and I have not had any issues. It doesn't have that sticky sensation or anything like that. It completely sets down. And I know it's so stupid expensive, but I hate that I love it. So those are all the Luxe foundations that I think are worth the splurge. So now it's time for the moment that I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for, and let's talk about some Luxe foundations that I think are not worth the splurge. We'll start off with the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Youth Boosting Perfect Skin Foundation. So this is just a tinted moisturizer from Charlotte Tilbury. It's as simple as that. So the reason why I'm including the Light Wonder in this category is not because this is a bad product, because it isn't necessarily bad. It's just the fact that I have other tinted moisturizers and CC creams that give the exact same effect, if not a better effect, for half the price. This is a pretty expensive product for what it is. It has extremely sheer coverage. It's so sheer that it barely even covers up my redness. So I find it sort of silly to spend so much money on a product that really doesn't do much. Something else that I'm just not quite a fan of when it comes to this product is actually the dewiness that it has. When you first apply it to your face, it does have a really nice luminous finish to it, but I do find that throughout the day, it becomes so dewy that my skin almost looks oily, which is just never the look that I like to go for. Because of that, and also the fact that it's just not the most unique product that I think is totally worth its higher price tag, is the reason why it is in the not worth the splurge category. So this next product may confuse some of you because I actually did include this in my favorites video, but after further consideration and sort of just thinking about it a little bit more, I do have slightly different thoughts on it, so just hear me out on this. So this is the La Mer, the Soft Fluid Longwear Foundation. Now, when I included this in my favorites video, I forget what month it was, but I think it was the previous month or maybe the month before, I mentioned that I really like this foundation, but only mixed in with other ones. I don't like this foundation actually by itself. I actually first tried this when I was in Vancouver, and when I first tried it on my face, it looked so bad on my skin. It looked so bad that I actually took it off. And then when I reapplied the foundation, I actually mixed it in with a little bit of my IT Cosmetics CC Plus, and that's when the magic started to happen and it looked really beautiful. And I remember that being just a really great foundation day. So when I came back home, I ended up buying the foundation and I started trying to use it again on its own. And again, it was just really difficult for it to actually look great on my skin. And this is a La Mer foundation. This shit is so stupid expensive. In my mind, if I'm spending over $100 on a foundation, it better make my skin look like a baby's butt. I think it's sort of silly that I have to like mix this in order for it to look good, especially considering how crazy expensive it is. So don't get me wrong, I still like to use this and I still am going to use it because I'm definitely not letting my money go to waste with this one. So that's why I don't think it's worth the splurge. If you have a different skin type though, you may have a slightly different experience, but that was just my experience and I'm slightly regretting purchasing this. So next we have the Kevyn Aucoin, the Sensual Skin Fluid Foundation. Now, a long time ago, definitely over like a year ago now, I actually did a video comparing this to the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea because they both are very similar. They're both like water foundations that are very liquidy. They both have little droppers. So I sort of did like a head to head, and comparing them head by head, you could really tell that there is not much, if any, difference. And obviously there is quite a cost difference between the two. Now this foundation as well as the Tarte foundation both didn't really work out for my skin. They are a little bit too matte for my personal preferences, but I do know a lot of people who have oily skin who really enjoy the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea because it is a little bit more on the matte side, but for me it just made my skin look so dry and chalky and cakey, and it really accentuated all the dryness and like fine lines. But the reason why I don't think it's worth the splurge is because you can get such a similar foundation at such a lower cost. So if you are intrigued with that type of formula, and if you feel like it's going to work for your skin, or if you have a more oilier skin type and maybe you were thinking about buying this, then I would say to skip on this and try the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea instead because like I said, they're like exactly the same. So the last luxury foundation that I do not think is worth the splurge, this really didn't work out for me. This is the Laura Mercier Candle Glow Soft Luminous Foundation. Now when I first bought this product, I had just visions of just perfect skin, because the actual name was so intriguing to me that I couldn't pass it up. I don't know why they call this the Soft Luminous Foundation, because it made my skin look so dry and so cakey and just so bad. just simply bad. I've tried to use this countless times using so many different methods, but it never works. And there are just so many other foundations that just work so much better in my opinion, and that's why I do not think this one is worth the splurge. So that is actually it for all of my luxury foundations that I think are worth the splurge and not worth the splurge. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Do not forget to let me know what you thought in the comments, and let me know some of your favorite and least favorite luxury foundations. I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to also mention what skin type you have with your recommendations. Of course, give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!